Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. We'll just have to go back now to this masla again. Right. So the husband said, I have taken you back. And she said in response to him, my iddat is elapsed. Then the rajat is not correct according to Imam Bonifa. Sahibain said rajat is correct. Why? Because it came during the iddat. Because it is clear that the iddat is remaining until she informs that the iddat has elapsed. And the rajat came before that. And then she informed. Right? And then they use it as a backup. What they use as a backup for this reason. If he said to her, I divorced you. And she said in the فَقَالَتْ مُجِيبَةً لَهُ, and she said in response to him, قَدْ إِنْقَضَتْ إِدَّتِي, my iddat has elapsed already. يَكَأُ الطَّلَاقُ, the talaq will occur. Right. So what happened here now? Saibin say, look, even in this situation, you, Imam Bonifa, you also agree to this. What is it? That you look at it from another angle. Maybe she's already in the iddat, she got one talaq, right? And now he wants to give her a second. So he say, I've divorced you. And she said, too late, my iddat elapsed. So even you, Imam Bonifa, you say the talaq will occur. You understand it? So now Imam Bonifa, وَلِأَبِي حَنِيفَ أَنَّا صَادَفَتْ حَالَةَ الْإِنْقِضَاءِ. Imam Bonifa, the dalil is that rajat came during the time of the elapsing of the iddat, right? لِأَنَّهَا أَمِينَةٌ فِي الْإِخْبَارِ, because she is trustworthy in informing anil inqidai, about the elapsing of the iddat. It's in her, the amanat is by her, she needs to inform now, right? فَإِذَا أَخْبَرَتْ, once she informs, دَلَّ ذَلِكَ عَلَى سَبْقِ الْإِنْقِضَاءِ, right? That indicates that the iddat preceded that. You understand it? In other words, the iddat would first finish, now she'll inform. You understand it? So which means when she informed, it means that the iddat elapsed already before that. You understand it? Right. Right. وَأَقْرَبُ أَحْوَالِهِ حَالُ قَوْلِ الزَّوْجِ, and the closest of its situations is the situation of the statement of the husband. So how long before that now can you go? Because now look, her iddat finished, now she informed. So when she informed means the iddat finished before that. So you look at the closest thing that happened before that was when the husband said Raja'tuki. You understand it? So we will say, right, that when he said Raja'tuki, already at that time the iddat has elapsed. وَمَسْأَلُةُ الطَّلَاقِ عَلَى الْخِلَافِ. Now the answer to the talaq masla now, that why you say now the talaq will go through. When she said the iddat elapsed, you're still allowing the talaq. So you say, firstly, the masala of talaq is upon ikhtilaf. In other words, we don't agree with that masla. Right. وَلَوْ كَانَتْ عَلَى الْإِتِّفَاقِ, and if it was unanimous, in other words, if we say, okay, we agree with that masla, the talaq will go through, but rajat won't go through. Right. فَالطَّلَاقُ يَقَعُ بِإِقْرَارِهِ بَعْدَ الْإِنْقِضَاءِ. Right. So the talaq will occur with him confessing it after the elapsing of the iddat. You understand? Because it's in his hand, the talaq. You understand it? So the talaq occurs with him confessing it after the elapsing of the iddat, and rajat cannot be established with confessing after the elapsing of the iddat. So you know what they're saying here now, talaq can still occur, right? If he said, I gave her so what he's saying now, if he say, after iddat, he said, you know what, I divorced you a second time in iddat, then it will occur. It will occur. So now two talaqs will be. But rajat can't be. He can't, now after the iddat, he say, I had taken you back in the iddat. You understand it? I had taken you back in, he won't be listened to now. You understand it? But in regards to the talaq, he will be listened to and will be two talaqs, right? وإذا قال زوج الأمة بعد انقضاء عدتها قد كنت راجعتها وصدقه المولى وكذبته الأمة فالقول قولها عند أبي حنيفة رحمه الله تعالى وقال القول قول المولى. When the husband of the female slave said after the elapsing of her iddat that I had taken you back, and the master had certified him, he said, yes, you had taken her back in the iddat, and the female slave rejects him. You know, the female slave is going against her master now and her husband. she's saying they're speaking lies. Then the qawl will be her qawl according to Imam Hanifa, and Sahibin said the qawl will be qawl of the master. Why Sahibin saying the qawl will be qawl of the master? لِأَنَّ بُضْعَهَا مَمْلُوكٌ لَهُ. Because her bud'a, her private part, right, is owned by the master. فَقَدْ أَقَرَّ بِمَا هُوَ خَالِصُ حَقِّهِ لِلزَّوْجِ. And he has confessed with that which is solely his right for the husband. In other words, he's saying, no, you did take her back. So in other words, you still can keep her. Right? فَشَابَهَ الْإِقْرَارَ عَلَيْهَا بِالنِّكَاحِ. So it resembles confessing against her with nikah. In other words, he's saying, I've married you off to this man. And she rejects that. Then it will be his statement because he's owning her bud'a. وهو يقول حكم الرجعة يبتني على الإدة. Imam Sahib says the ruling of rajat is based upon iddat. والقول في الإدة قولها. And the qawl in regards to iddat is her qawl. You understand? Till when she informs or till she don't inform, iddat elapses. Everything depends on her when it comes to iddat. And rajat is based on iddat, right? Right. فَكَذَا فِيمَا يَبْتَنِي عَلَيْهَا. So likewise, in that which is based upon the iddat, which is rajat. وَلَوْ كَانَ عَلَى الْقَلْبِ فَإِنَّهُمَا الْقَوْلُ قَوْلُ الْمَوْلَى. And if it was the opposite, in other words, the female slave is saying, yes, you did take me back. And the master is saying, no, you didn't take her back. You got that now? Right. Then according to Sahibain, the qawl is the qawl of the master. وَكَذَا عِنْدَهُ فِي الصَّحِيحِ. And likewise, according to Imam Sahib in the Sahih qawl. لِأَنَّهَا مُنْقَضِيَةُ الْعِدَّةُ فِي الْحَالِ. Because her iddat has elapsed presently. In other words, the iddat is now finished. Right? And now the master is saying, I had taken you back. You understand it? I had taken you back, right? So, but the iddat is already finished now. And now the master is going back and saying, but I took you back in the iddat, right? So she says, yes, you did take me back. But the master is saying, no. Rather, the husband is saying, I take you back. And the master is saying, no, you didn't take her back, right? So the thing is, so Imam Sahib also, he agrees with Sahibain, yeah? And the reason being is that presently, iddat is finished, right? وَقَدْ ظَهَرَ مِلْكُ الْمُتْعَةِ لِلْمَوْلَى. So once the iddat is finished, then the ownership of the Buddha is now apparent for the master. Now he owns the Buddha now, right? وَلَا يُقْبَلُ قَوْلُهَا فِي إِبْطَالِهِ. So her qawl will not be accepted in cancelling his ownership of the Buddha. Huh? Who? Yeah, so no, he could be lying. He could be. We're not saying he's not lying or not lying here. What we're saying here is the master. Remember, the qawl here is the qawl of the master, right? So what's happening here now is that the iddat elapsed, right? Now they both agreeing to say we did do rajat, and the master is saying no. So the qawl is the qawl of the master. Why? Because he's got ownership now. Since the iddat elapsed, he's got ownership. Now they're trying to take away that ownership from him. So her qawl will not be accepted in cancelling his ownership. You got that now? بخلاف الوجه الأول, contrary to the first case, لأن المولى بالتصديق في الرجعة مقر بقيام العدة عندها. Right. Contrary to the first case now, why we didn't listen to the master in the first case, right? The first case is where the master said, no, you did take her back. And she said, no, you didn't take me back, right? Contrary to the first case, because the master was certifying the rajat. He is confessing that the iddat is still existing at the time of the rajat. So the master is saying, I don't have ownership because I agree that he took her back, right? وَلَا يَظْهَرُ مِلْكُهُ مَعَ الْإِدَّةِ. And his ownership doesn't become apparent with the iddat. As long as the iddat is there, he doesn't have a stay. You understand it? Yes, once the iddat is finished, and he says no, like the previous case, the case there that he says, you didn't take her back. Now it will be his call because his milkiyat is there now. وإن قالت قد انقضت عدتي وقال الزوج والمولى لم تنقض عدتك فالقول قولها. And if she said my iddat has elapsed, and the husband and the master say no, your iddat didn't elapse as yet, then the call will be her call. لأنها أمينة في ذلك, because she is trusted in regards to that. Is هي العالمة به, because she's the one that's going to know that. Nobody else will know that, right? وإذا انقطع الدم من الحيضة الثالثة ل10 أيام انقطع الرجعة وإن لم تغتسل. And when the blood cuts off in the third haze for 10 days, then raj'at cuts off. The moment 10 days is finished, right, and the bleeding also stops, or even if the bleeding didn't stop, right, but 10 days is finished, then raj'at is gone. No chance for raj'at now, even though she didn't take a ghusl yet. You understand it? Even though she didn't take it. وإن انقطع لأقل من 10 أيام لم ينقطع الرجعة حتى تغتسل أو يمضي عليها وقت صلاة كامل. And if it cuts off for less than 10 days now, say it can cut off on 8 days, right? Then Rajat doesn't cut off until she takes a ghusl or the time of a complete salah passes upon her. In other words, one salah becomes qaza upon her, right? So now, then only Rajat will take will fall away. لأن الحيز لا مزيد له على أشرته, because حيز there is no increase. Oh, okay, leave it later from there. لأن الحيز